So I was saying, today's athlete, they learn different ways. They kind of, they find different ways to work out. There's always been a new emphasis on new training methods. Like, how have you seen today's kids and today's athletes changing from maybe guys you even taught 5 years ago?
Well, I see a lot of younger kids doing things like lifting weights, doing power lifting, and things of that nature. I don't, I kind of frown on that until they get to a certain age because a lot of these kids haven't fully developed physically, and so they're trying to do things that they see online on the internet that 21, 22, 27-year-old grown men are doing, like throwing weighted balls. When you're 14, your growth plates are open, and there's so many things that can go wrong if you're doing it wrong. And just to look at something on the internet and then go out in your garage and try it is kind of dangerous for their arm care. I do see a lot of kids trying to get a little bit more effort into each throw, um, instead of learning how their body's supposed to move or what they need to do to capitalize on the pitches that they already have. Everybody is velocity hunting.
Right.
So, I mean, when you get out on the mound, it doesn't really matter how hard you throw to a hitter. Hitters don't really fear a fastball that's just hard. But if you can control it, if you can spot it, you can command it, and then you got a 3-pitch mix like a changeup or a breaking ball that you can mix in with that. A lot of that stuff is going to be more conducive to having success. So basically, I see kids now just trying to throw the ball as hard as they can, and everybody loves velocity. When I was pitching, and I looked up at the ray gun on the scoreboard, and I had a good number up there, I poked my chest out a little bit. I understand that it's like hitting a home run 500 feet or hitting one 300 feet. It's still a home run.
Right.
Still going to be the same result. It's the same way if you get a guy out. I hear so many kids talking about, oh, I'm going to strike everybody out. Well, that's unrealistic. And if you go out there with that approach, then you really don't have an idea of how to get outs other than striking people out. So I see a lot of kids trying to strike everybody out and trying to throw as hard as they possibly can. And that's just the recipe for a short career or the chances of arm injuries increasing.
Yeah, it's weird because, you just use the mental, knowledge of weights. If you put too much stress on muscles inside the arm, sooner or later, things are going to pop, things are going to tear, and things are not going to be in the same place they were before. And I just saw a video of Noah Syndergaard, who had Tommy John surgery a few weeks ago, like pushing his limits. He was doing, he was doing cardio work. He was doing kind of intensive, running and jumps and stuff. But if he's trying to rehab his arm, I don't know how much his legs and his stamina is going to help as the arm isn't back to where it is. And I don't know if that's going to put an extra stress on the arm, but the weights itself seem to be a natural thing. They stress your muscles. And if after time, they're not going to work the way they did before. And I kind of see an emphasis on that. It's that muscles, the velocity gets out the hitter, but the hitter is doing the same kind of weight work, and he's trying to hit it 900 feet. So there's kind of a weird give and take. I don't think pitchers and hitters should be doing the same kind of workout regimens.
Well, I mean, as far as the physical strength is concerned, I understand that. I understand you want to be in the best shape that you can be in. You want to have, rock hard abs. You want to have bulging biceps. But pitching, your lower half is what's going to drive your engine. If your lower half is out of sync and you're just trying to do everything with your arm, then you're going to have some problems. Like with Syndergaard, I saw he was throwing 100. He wanted to throw 105. Like, everybody wants to throw harder. And you see now that, the way that they use pitchers is almost like disposable lighters. You get a couple strikes out of them, and then when they blow out, then they bring the next one up. The longevity factor has kind of disappeared because I don't think they want guys to have 20 years in the league. You see so many relievers being used in a game that the starter is only expected to go 5 innings now.
Right.
And so if the starter is only expected to go 5 innings, why should he try and pace himself to get somebody out 3 times? He's going to go out there and going to let it all hang out. I mean, when I was a reliever, I had one job to do: come in with the game on the line in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning and go as hard as I could, as long as I could. But you see starters taking that mentality now, and, it's going to really make the elite starting pitcher stand out more. And then guys that don't really have that that pitch combination or the understanding of how to read a hitter and get them out 3 times, those guys are going to fall by the wayside because, again, with the way baseball has been played last year, you see pitchers taking cards out of the back pocket to look and see how they're going to pitch
Right.
a guy.
Yeah.
So they're not even, I don't even think they're letting these guys call their own games because the analytics say, hey, if your slider is your best pitch, throw it 90% of the time. Okay, so if it's your best pitch and it's a pitch that you use to get guys out with, if you throw it more, they're going to see it more, subsequently making it less effective.
Right.
So when guys can mix in their pitches, when guys can throw their breaking balls for strikes, and when guys can kind of set a hitter up for later on in the game, then you'll see guys starting to go 7, 8, and 9 innings again. But until then, you get 7 relievers ready. You get your starter to give you 3 innings, and then you just start bringing guys in like a freaking conga line. It's it's really changed the game the way that it's being actually coached from upstairs now.
Right.
Managers don't really get a chance to go with their gut feeling. Everybody's so afraid that they're going to get second guessed if they go with a feel and not go with what's on paper. And that's why you see the game is, a little bit different than it used to be. There's not a lot of strategy, like bunting guys over, hitting behind guys, hitting and running. You see guys swinging for the gate. You see pitchers trying to strike everybody out. So who wants to see a game where it's 15 home runs and 20 strikeouts? I mean, that's okay. That's like showcase baseball. You go to a showcase and you're just trying to show what you can do. And that really doesn't play into a team aspect. So, all us old dinosaur guys have pretty much the same argument about how the game has changed. And when I was coming up, I used to hear from guys that was a lot older than me telling us that we didn't know what we were doing. So it's not new. It's just something that you always get better after you get out of the game. Everybody's a lot smarter in the booth. All the players are great players once they're out of the game. If you look at my Instagram and like a lot of kids that I coach, they're like, Coach, you should be in the Hall of Fame. You never gave up a hit. You didn't get in. Nobody ever got a hit off you. Well, I control that narrative. So if I want guys to really see what I can do, I'm not going to put up a game where I'm getting pounded.
Right.
I'm going to put up some things, some stuff that I have success with. But I'm so, I got so many videos from when I played. I can just pick through and find out whatever I've been talking about at the previous lesson and use that as an example, just so these guys will know that I've been through almost every circumstance that a pitcher can be in: starter, reliever, setup, mop up, clean up, whatever was asked of me, I've been able to do that. So that's the credibility factor that I can bring to the training aspect of what I'm doing. So if they know that I've done it at the highest level and then I can teach that, then now I'm getting a better response, or they're coming to me with questions that normally they wouldn't ask because, sometimes they just figure, well, how's he going to know what I'm feeling? But,
Right.
By going through it, there's some things that I can relate to these guys that they just can't get by looking on somebody else's YouTube page.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, that's what I love about, what you do on social media is I love the footage. I love your archive. Basically like you think about a player and then you got a video up of you up, on the mound against them. And it's so cool when you break it down and you're saying how you were getting them out and you're using your strategy. As a guy who's an enthusiast of the MLB archive myself, I mean, I absolutely love this footage that you pull out. So you have basically all your games on video, correct? And you were able to go to a game and pull it out and check in, see, what you did in these games for success. And it's so cool to see you do that.
Yeah, when I first started playing, we had the video guy and they would record every game. And then after the season, they would ask guys, hey, do you want your videos, your VHS tapes, cassettes? I'm like, yeah, I might not be here next year. So I still want to have something. I had this forethinking that at some point I'm going to have kids and they're going to want to see what dad did. So I better try and hold on to this video. And then every year after the season, I just got all my videos. And then maybe about 3 or 4 years after I retired, I was like, well, these VHS, I don't think they're going to last forever. Let me put them all in my computer. So I got them digitized, put them in my computer. Now I can just go to like Baseball Reference and find out the date of the game, bring it up, and then I can go in there and actually find some footage. A lot of my guys that I play against, they're going, what about that home run I hit off you? Why you didn't put that? I'm like, dude, this is Freeman Baseball, man. I mean, like I said, I'm controlling this narrative over here.
You have shown, though, where you have made a mistake and then how you corrected it. And that's that's accountability at its best, where you show what you did to fix those mistakes. But I love where you could pull out the clips of you versus Barry Bonds. And you're like, look, this is what it took to get him out. Watch what I do here. And look, your first at bat, last at bat. I mean, it's that kind of stuff, as a video guy myself who digitizes my old sports tapes basically every other day. Love it. I could watch your stuff, till the cows come home.
Good, man. I appreciate it. And that's why I do it. It's not only is it an educational thing, but I try to add a little entertainment factor with it as well. I don't put a lot of stuff up there where I'm getting pounded. I do share a little bit of hits and downsides just so guys can know that it's going to happen. I mean, no matter who you are, when you go out there, you're going to get hit. And I try to analyze why I got hit so that guys can kind of take something away from it. Now, most of the time, guys just see a video of me and they go ahead and move on and like, oh, this guy putting another video of himself up again. He's feeling himself again, So, I mean, I do get a special fuzzy feeling by putting those up, but at the same time, there's a teaching lesson involved in that as well. So I'm really trying to let these young guys know that, hey, there's more to the game than just throwing hard. I threw hard when I first came up. And as I evolved and got older, I learned how to pitch more and kind of conserve some of that early energy and learning how my body was working. I learned how to move better. I put a side-by-side video up when I was a rookie. And then right at the end of my career, things were pretty much similar, but you can see how I refined it. I took out a lot of wasted motion. I used to go over my head with my hands starting off, and all that did was put me a little bit out of sync more often than I wanted to. And then I start just not taking my hands over my head. My control got better. I had better balance. And so I really learned, and especially being on a team like the Braves, where you got Leo Mazzoni. And he's working with Hall of Famers. We didn't know they were Hall of Famers. I just knew those guys were good. So I was looking at what they were doing when they prepared, and the things that they were doing when they prepared, I was like, I've been doing it all wrong. I've been preparing wrong. I've been preparing like it's the 7th game of the World Series. Well, you ain't going to play in the 7th game of the World Series every time out there. So there has to be, you got to temper that down a little bit. And so I start preparing myself, to hit outside, to hit inside, throw my breaking ball for a strike, throw my breaking ball that looked like a strike and ended up a ball, work on my changeup, and do things that I was able to repeat so that when I got in the game, if I landed wrong and fell off and I saw the ball flight, I would have an idea how to make those adjustments immediately. But when I came up with the Phillies, it was like, God, what am I doing? What am I doing? I was just out there on real athleticism and just going out there just trying to compete. but actually learning how to pitch, I didn't really learn until I got on the team with different guys that were successful. We had at one time, we had 5 Cy Young Award winners on the roster.
Yeah.
We had Mark Davis and Steve Bedrosian. They won the Rolaids Relief Man, and they were in our bullpen. And then we had Smoltz, Maddox, Glavine in the rotation. Steve Avery was an 18, 19-year-old rookie. And so everybody that went out there was putting it, they was dealing, they was getting it done. So me as a pitcher, I can't be bringing up the rear. So it's only going to make you up your game when you got guys out there that's performing and they're doing things the right way. And you're a complete idiot if you don't watch and learn what these guys are doing.
Yeah, those 91, 92, 93 early Brave teams of that run that they went on in the 90s. I mean, like, those are the teams to watch because that was watching the team come together. And yeah, Maddox came in as, big time free agent, but, Glavine was homegrown and a lot of the guys that they had were homegrown, and we got to see them kind of mix in with the guys they acquired. And those 91, 92, 93 teams really were, like, I think the most fun to watch because you saw everybody kind of blossoming at the same time. And it was like, just like the 92, 93 Blue Jays. Everybody just kind of hit the right spot at the same time, and it made for these epic teams. But kind of talk about those early dynasty year Brave teams and how they kind of came together and made what the dynasty was for the whole run of the 90s.
Yeah, when I first came over to the Braves, it was 1990. I came over from Philly, and my first time I pitched in Atlanta, it might have been 7,000 people in the stands. I mean, you can hear the beer guy in the upper deck and in the outfield going screaming for beers. So it was really not a lot of pressure. So as a young up and coming major leaguer, to be able to go out there and not have that self-induced pressure put on you that you pitching in front of a packed house and you got to get it done or you're going back down to the minors, that was kind of put on the back burner, and you were able to kind of focus on. I'm like, hey, the Braves, they're in last place, man. If I can't make this team, I'm not going to be in the big league. So, again, it kind of made you want to be a little bit more consistent so that you're better than the guys that's getting ready to get sent out. And then that following year, they brought in John Schuerholz. Bobby Cox went from being the GM to the manager. They changed the culture of the Braves from being just the lovable, well, that's the Cubs, the lovable losers. I'm from Chicago too, so I know about them as well. But the Braves brought in Terry Pendleton, Rafael Belliard, because they needed a shortstop that could catch the ball. We had Sid Bream. They brought him in. They brought a lot of veteran leadership in. And then to go along with Dave Justice and Ron Gant, guys that they grew as well. It was just, you can see they were putting together something that was really special. And we started off the year like we always did. At the All-Star break, I think we were like 10, 11 games out. And then we came back after the All-Star break, and it was like everything just came together. And we picked up we picked up about 8 games on the Dodgers in about a month span, got back in the race. And then by August, every game meant either first place or second place. So when we came to the park, it's 50,000. They're there before BP. I mean, it was like, man, this is what winning looks like. And so we just had a wonderful, wonderful experience from 91 to 94. When I left, it was being on the Braves was the in vogue thing then. So that was a great experience. And even to this day, the guys that were on that team, we still kind of, communicate with each other, and we have a lot of fun talking about how things were in the clubhouse, because that was one of the few teams where everybody on the team got along. There was no cliques in the clubhouse. There was no sections off over here and over there. Everybody mingled with each other, and we were all pulling for each other. And you can just tell when a team has that type of chemistry, they're going to go out there and they're going to play hard, and they're going to play hard for a long time.
Yeah, and they won in 95, so you just, a year or so removed from leaving when they finally did win that world championship, but not like you guys weren't close. I mean, we've seen the games a million times. I mean, which one of those years that you guys were right in there in the thick of it, did you think that you should have won? Or you probably think you should have won them all, but which kind of disappoints you the most when you think about it?
Probably the '91 series. We we were going all the way down to the wire with Minnesota. We had a chance in Game 7. Jack Morris and Smoltz were pitching gems. They both went 9 innings. Morris went 10. We ended up losing 1-0, but we had an opportunity. We had the bases loaded and no outs, and we couldn't get it done. And that was the first time I'd seen a bunch of grown men crying in the dugout. I mean, in the locker room after the game. So it was kind of painful because we had come from being the worst team in the league to playing in the World Series, and the expectations were high. And, you know, Atlanta had never won a major championship, and everybody was putting everything that they had into it. We still ended up with 1 million people at the parade, which was tremendous. But I think '91 was probably the most painful because nobody expected us to get there. And then when we got there, we were trying to get it all. But then '92, it was harder because everybody expected us. And then getting back to the World Series and then losing to the Blue Jays,
Right.
you know, that was tough as well. But the Blue Jays had several Hall of Fame guys on their team as well. So it was not like they just snuck in there and beat us. Them guys was pretty good as well. So, but for me, I ended up having back surgery in September of '91. So I was reduced to a cheerleader, and I was just sitting on the bench, giving guys high fives, just being eaten up inside because I wanted to be a part of that September run. But still can't argue with what we did. You know, 10, 12 flags in a row in the National League. Well, we were in the West End.
Yeah.
National League West, and it was just it's something that, you know, everybody that was involved should be proud of because it's not easy to do.
Yeah, and just to touch back to when you got drafted, that '84 draft featured your Braves teammates Maddox, Glavine, who got picked 2 picks before you, Jeff Blauser. So that was that '84 draft featured a lot of those Braves guys. So, like I said, it's kind of everybody coming together at the right time. But before I get into the wrap up, I just want to bring up your first major league win. So I'm a Mets fan. I don't know if you can see it here. I'm a Mets guy. '86. So you make your debut, or you get your first win in '86, 2 days after they clinch the 1986 pennant. So you don't have the whole A lineup. You might have guys getting a day off here or there, but you got Strawberry, you got Carter, Dykstra's in there. Talk about taking the mound for that first win in New York, you know, in that season where those guys were like, you know, insanely dominant. What was that like getting your first win in New York, '86?
Well, it was, you know, I was on the treadmill and I was watching that game. You know, I always watch old videos of myself so that I can kind of go back into the mindset of what I was thinking then, as opposed to how I'm teaching now. Because if I know exactly what the pitcher is thinking, and then I can see if he's executing or not, which is me, that's why I use a lot of my examples, because I know what I'm thinking at
Right.
that. But that game against the Mets, it was my second big league start, and my wife was like days away from having our first child, and so she went into labor actually right before the game, but she didn't call me. She didn't tell me because we were. she knew it was my big league. It was my second big league start, and in New York, the Mets, they were just a hot team then. So I guess she didn't want to upset me or get me off my cue and have me fly home. So I didn't find out that she had went into labor until like the fourth inning when she had our daughter Paris. And so when the game started, I was like, boy, this is the Mets. This is the Big Apple. Look around, packed house. I'm warming up in the pen. And the Mets fans down in the bullpen, if you know anything about Old Shea Stadium, you could like lean over the fence and you're right on top of the pitcher's head in the mound. And they were just giving me all kind of grief down there, man. Yeah, rookie, you're going to get it today. This is what's going to happen to you. Daryl Strawberry going to take you deep. I'm like, all right, okay. Y'all don't know about me. So the first batter, and when I got on the mound, you know, the mound was illegal. It was illegal. The mound was about 15 inches high. and I knew they had Gooden, they had all these good pitchers, and I'm like, no wonder these guys are so good. They're throwing the ball from an airplane down to the plate. So I'm like, I'm gonna be getting some good downhill tilt on this baby. So just really the first batter was Dykstra trying to get used to the mound. I walked him, then he got thrown out trying to steal second, and then after that, it was Dykstra, Wally Backman, Dave Magadan, Gary Carter, Daryl Strawberry, Danny Heap, Hojo, Rafael Santana, and the pitcher was John Mitchell.
John Mitchell. Yeah, you just nailed the lineup. I'm looking at it right here. You just nailed it top to bottom.
yeah. And so, I'm like, only guys that I really, got to really try and not get embarrassed with was like Hojo, Straw, because Hojo was crushing. Danny Heap, he was a pretty good left-handed hitter. Gary Carter, we all know the kid can rake. And then Dave Magadan, he might have hit 300 that year. So these guys, they didn't put like the September call-ups in. And Daryl Strawberry ended up getting a hit in the second inning. He got a triple off me. And he ended up scoring on a pass ball. And as I'm covering home plate, Dutch Rennert was the umpire. And Dutch, if you know Dutch Rennert, he was like, he had his own show going back there. He was, strike one. He was like, I think they patterned that Leslie Nielsen character after him for that movie. But Dutch Rennert said to me as I'm backing up home, and I'm covering home on the pass ball. I say it's a pass ball because it didn't bounce, but it was a pass ball. And Dutch said to me, he said, "Hey kid, you're gonna be all right. Stay right there. I'm gonna call him. I like to hear myself call strikes, so throw a lot of them." And that kind of relaxed me because after that I was like, okay, it's just like when I was in Double-A. Let me just go ahead and focus on hitting the glove. And that's when I learned that taking away the outside noise and things that I couldn't control and just worry about what I could control was just trying to keep my body and get my body in the right position and make this pitch. That was a real good life learning experience that I still teach to this day because I can't worry about who's in the dugout when it's a guy at the plate with 30 home runs. I got to be worrying about getting him out. So trying to make the pitch, trying to make every pitch a good pitch. That's how I kind of reduced the stress level and went out there and I looked up. It was in the fourth inning. Glenn Wilson came flying out of the locker room saying, "Hey man, your wife just had the baby. Everything is good." He says, "Go out there and get the win." And at that point, we were losing 1-0, and I'm walking up and down the dugout. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm a father. Let's go. I want to win. I got to get this win." We put up a 4 spot that inning. I pitched 7, jumped on the flight back to Chicago, and the rest is history. I got my first child and my first win on the same day.
Unbelievable. 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, 6 strikeouts. That's a hell of a first day of birth for your child. That's very cool. So I was looking for the game, can't find it anywhere. So as we're talking, I got a game from '88 up here. So
I'm gonna do I was just when I was on the treadmill and I was looking. I said, you know what? I'm gonna put every out that I got in one clip. So look for that on Twitter later on.
I absolutely will.
Put every out up there. I'm not gonna put the walks or it's only 1 hit. I might throw that in there just to show that I only gave up 1 hit, but it's still a game that I'm really, really I watch it often because again, all those minor league bus rides and road trips and sleeping in these little flea bag hotels, you dream about that moment, and then to actually perform in it and have some success, it's just something it's really hard to explain the feeling that I have when I go back and recall those things. But you hear guys say all the time, well, after my career is over, I'm going to look back on these things and then I'll probably be able to enjoy them. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm looking back and enjoying the things that I've done, when I played in the big leagues.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to get into the wrap right here, and we're going to talk a little bit about Freeman Baseball. I'll let you tell everybody where they can find everything for your foundation for Freeman Baseball. But I wanted to say just as we wrapped up, when I wanted to talk with you, I mean, I've been watching you guys, and when I mean you guys, I mean the vets, the pros, battling, the new age gurus and the guys that never stepped over the white lines in the major leagues, and giving you guys hell and ripping the old guard, which I'm calling it reverse jockism. For some reason, it's become acceptable to like bully former pros for making the bigs. I don't get it, but you guys have been fighting a good fight.
That's all the hitting gurus. The pitching guys, they can't really dispute anything that I say, because not only am I getting results from the guys that I work with, they're actually using a lot of my stuff the way that they're training pitchers now. So mostly I get on guys that put up some really crazy hitting tips, and I'm all for it. I want hitters to be as confused as possible. And I don't want them to know that a pitcher is going to be trying to really dominate the outside corner. I want everybody swinging like they're in the cage. So I'm complimenting guys. I mean, this one guy, he put a video up, and it was so comical that I had to make a meme out of it. It was probably some of my finest work. You dig down into my Twitter account, you'll find it, because it is hilarious. But at the same time, I really don't care what they teach as far as hitting goes. Everybody's got a new formula for success. I mean, when you hear guys say the big leaguers been doing it wrong, this is the way to do it, run. Because again, if you're going to take advice from someone that's learning it offline, as opposed to somebody that's been thrown in the fire and having to figure it out and fight and scratch and claw and hold on to his career for any substantial amount of time, if you're going to listen to that first guy, then you deserve everything that you get. But I've always felt that experience is the best teacher. Now, don't get me wrong. I use the Rapsodo. I use TrackMaster. I use the Pocket Radar. Those are great tools to use.
Right.
And I use the data balls and all of this stuff that's going to give you spin rate and blah, blah, blah. And I showed a kid this the other day. I was like, I did 2 pitches. Now, one pitch he threw, perfect strike on the outside corner. Spin rate wasn't that high. Pitch efficiency was good because he located it. And then the next pitch he threw, the spin rate was off the charts. It had much more velocity, but it went over the backstop. And then I asked him, I said, now, which one of these pitches do you think is going to be more beneficial for you in the game? This one that you threw hard and had no direction where it was going, or this pitch that you painted on the lower outside corner? And so just the numbers, they're going to give you a measurement, but they still not going to tell you the whole story.
Right.
You can execute. I knew guys that didn't have nothing going out there every 5 days getting people out because they knew how to pitch, they knew how to locate, they knew how to change speeds. And that formula is never going away, because hitting is all about timing. If you can destroy the timing, then you're going to make it difficult on the hitter. And so you can't destroy the timing just trying to throw the ball past guys all the time. A guy told me one time, he said, hey, man, he said, Free, you throw hard, but I could pull a bullet if I see it more than once. And I was like, you know what? I start thinking, and as a pitcher that actually had to go hit, when I knew a fastball was coming, I felt like Dave Winfield up there at the plate. My whole demeanor changed. But when I knew it was going to be something other than the fastball, I was like, man, I'm getting ready to strike out again, So it changes your whole approach when you know that you're getting a fastball. And most of the time now, guys they're getting fastballs, right? Because the numbers say that you throw 95 miles an hour, it's harder to hit. Well, I don't need a computer to tell me that. you know. But at the same time, you know, it's really good to know if your ball is spinning a certain kind of way. If you are trying to create this thing that kills me now is this pitch design. You know, you're designing new pitches now. Come on, everybody's relabeling stuff. If my slider is hanging and I know I got to tighten it up to make it break shorter and quicker, then I got to do something different. I don't need a a spin machine to tell me that my breaking ball is just rolling. I mean, and a lot of stuff that we talk about as former big leaguers, we can see with our eyes. And so we have a better chance of correcting it right there on the spot. We don't have to go to the numbers. But I use the numbers now because, again, I'm like Jurassic Park, the dinosaur that's brought into today's world. And we already saw how Jurassic Park ended. They killed all the dinosaurs. And so I'm just trying to survive as that dinosaur out here using the tools that they're using now and still kind of blending it with the way the game should be played so guys can get the most out of their own ability.
Hey, Jurassic Park had a lot of sequels and reboots, so
there you go.
They always go back to the well. And I'm sure you would have liked to have faced guys that are like doing this kind of swing and whatever this twist is. You would have loved to face guys like that.
Oh, you know what? The thing is now, there's so many shifts, and they're shifting guys before a pitcher even goes out there. And because some days I had a really good fastball, some days I didn't throw it that much. But if you're playing everybody to pull, and I got a really good fastball and they're hitting the ball the other way, then that's not playing into what I'm trying to do. So that's what I have a big problem with, shifting everybody on one side of the field. But here's the kicker. The hitters are trying to hit over the shift. I don't get that part. You got the whole left side open. You can just kind of like just poke a ball and walk to first.
Yeah.
And, you know, guys are just like, hey, well, you know, the numbers say you get it in the air and you're going to get more doubles and home runs by getting the ball in the air. Well, if a pitcher can locate away and the hitter is swinging to lift, then I'd say it's advantage pitcher, because most of the time you're going to pull off that ball away. I'm not talking about the super elite major leaguers that can go the other way. I'm talking about young little league, high school, college level players that are trying to hit like they see guys in the majors hit when they can't even cover the entire plate. So I'm teaching pitchers, hey, control the outside corner, make sure you can get your breaking ball over. You're going to eliminate half the guys in the lineup. Now, the other half, you might have to bear down and make some good pitches on. But if you can control the outside part of the plate, it's going to make it easier for you as a pitcher. So I keep it simple. I try not to be so scientific with things. I explain it in a way that these guys are going to get the most out of it. And then it's up to them to execute.
Yeah, I could listen to you talk all day about pitching and everything. So, you know, I want to get to the wrap so I can give you time to get to what you got to do today. Okay. But please tell the listeners of Diamond Conversations where they can find everything going on in the world of Marvin Freeman. Like I said, Freeman Baseball, your youth foundation, anything you got out there, please share with us right now.
Yeah, we got, you know, you can find me on Instagram, Freeman Baseball, Twitter, Marvin Freeman, Facebook, Freeman Baseball. We started a youth foundation to kind of bridge the gap with a lot of this cost for travel ball. We train kids in the off season for free on pitching. We have a youth program that's going to allow them to kind of get mentoring, and we give them life skills along the way, making them do community service to earn the right to come in and get the free training and stuff like that. So me and my wife created this foundation 2 years ago because we saw how a lot of times guys that had talent weren't really keeping up with the rest of the group, because the rest of the group were paying to have training in the off season. And right now you got to have some type of approach that you got to learn other than just playing games. A lot of times games are being played and kids don't throw bullpens, so they don't get a chance to know what they're doing or feel. So we're kind of trying to bridge the gap with that. So it's Marvin Freeman Youth Foundation.org. We always welcome donations from anyone that wants to help out. It's a nonprofit 501c3 organization. So again, we're just trying to help guys become better human beings and learn baseball along the way. So that's pretty much the gist of what I'm doing. I'm spending most of my time trying to give back. I've enjoyed a lot of success in this game, and it is time for me to kind of pass that on to, the youth of tomorrow, and hopefully they'll have the ability to do the same thing to someone else. So we're just really just trying to pass it along, basically.
Awesome. No, I appreciate all the time today. This is a lot of fun. I could, like I said, talk to you all day about stuff I didn't even get into about your career. But I got to ask, who's the one guy we're never going to see any clips of popping up? Who's that one guy that you couldn't bear to face when you stepped in the box?
It's funny because the one guy you wouldn't think of, it was David Segui. And over a 10-year period, I mean, the guy I probably faced him 2 or 3 times a year. But I remember a game in Colorado, I was getting ready to pitch, and I was just looking at the stat sheets. They put all the numbers out on the table, and the pitcher, it's up to the pitcher to look at this stuff and see what guys have done against you in the past. And I looked at it, and I'm like, 10 for 11. Wait a minute. I said, this is a misprint, And I looked at his spray chart, and he had like 7 hits directly over second base. So I told Eric Young, he's my second baseman, I said, look, man, we're going to do a little something different today. I said, when I'm pitching against Segui, almost stand on second base. And sure enough, the first ball he hit, it went right through my legs, but EY was standing right at second and threw him out at first. And he gets on first, and he's looking like, what are you doing there? I'm like, hey, man, I finally looked at the spray chart, and I got him out 3 times, but he ended up hitting like 835 or 840,
wow,
some ridiculous number. And then Jeff Conine. Now, Jeff Conine treated me like I was his little son. Like I was sitting on his lap every day. He punished me. And I'm talking about with some jacks. He probably one of the few guys that's got more than 1 home run off me in my career. But it was just, them 2 guys right there had my number, man. But Barry Larkin, I owned him. He's a Hall of Famer. I always throw him out because he mentioned me in his Hall of Fame speech. He said they asked him who was the toughest pitcher he ever faced. And he said, this guy named Marvin Freeman. I was like, you know me, man. Don't be trying to pretend like he was 1 for 20 off of me.
Oh, wow.
He got his hit the last game that I pitched against the Reds in 96. He finally got a hit. He was 0 for 20 at one point, and then he finally got a hit. And so Barry, Eric Davis, Straw was a guy that, when I was in college, he played for the Jackson Mets in AA, and I went to Jackson State. So we used to hang out, when he was in the minors, and I used to tell him, yeah, man, I'm going to be up there in a couple of years. I got something for you, Then he shot me over the Big Apple in New York. So it was just fun facing them guys that, you grew up watching, and then you finally get a chance to face Andre Dawson. I got so many stories, man.
I know. I can sit here and talk to you all day. I know. We'll wrap it up. I'd love to have you back because I want to talk. We haven't even gotten into the powder blue uniforms of the Phillies yet. That's how much I want to talk to you about stuff. So we'll get into that another time. But I sincerely appreciate the time today. I told you we'd have a good time. And you've been listening to Diamond Conversations. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at ChadEMB. And for Marvin Freeman, again, Marvin, what's the Twitter handle? I wrote it down here. It's at Marvin Freeman 84 on Twitter.
Marvin Freeman 84 on Twitter.